1 2 1 2. Welcome back, everybody, to the Motive Racing YouTube channel. We are back here tonight for some more action here on the F1 24 game. It's been a long time, but we're finally back here in 2025 for the first time, I think, this year, actually, that we've done a live stream on the Motive Racing channel. And I'm delighted to say it's with our good friends, Purple Sector, who we've covered many races on throughout the years. And obviously, most recently, we covered the season... God, was it season 10 or I can't remember. It was one of the recent seasons, might even have been season 9, but we covered most of the races, although I think that was not an official season as far as Purple Sector were concerned. The one that we recently did was the Realistic Car Performance League, which was where basically the drivers had to compete in cars that resembled the actual cars and teams' performances from the 2024 season. Or was it? Might have been 2023, actually. Do you know what? Funnily enough, I think it was actually on F1 23. It was that long ago that we've done a proper sustained level of coverage on any league. But that may have actually been back on F1 23. But nonetheless, we're here tonight, and we're actually here for the final few races of the season here for Purple Sector for season 11. So we're coming towards the business end of the championship, and the championship is still very much on the line as well. There's still lots to play for in terms of the standings. I've been doing my homework on this and just checking out the situation as things stand. So coming into these final 4 races of the season, it currently looks like this. You've got Matty Pitt leading the way in the championship. He's on 245 points, 21 points clear of Trevor. And unless Trevor's PlayStation name is considerably different to his Discord name, Trevor's not here, which would mean that Trevor will lose points. So 21 points is the gap. Matty Pitt on 245, Trevor on 224. Justify sits in 3rd place in the standings on 209 points, 36 off of Matty Pitt, the championship leader. You've got Ruck in 4th place in the standings on 198, 11 points behind Justify, and 47 off of Champions leader Matty Pitt. And you've got Drauga, who is in 5th in the standings on 195 points, only 3 points behind Ruck. So you've actually got quite a close battle there between the likes of Justify, Ruck and Drauga. It looks like those three are also going to bring themselves into the battle for 2nd in the championship with Trevor, because Trevor's obviously not here, as we said before. Rexy Boy is 6th in the championship standings coming into tonight. On 173 points, a little way behind that battle that we just mentioned there, but not a million miles away. So Rexy Boy could yet play a factor in a battle for 2nd in the championship. Who knows, maybe even more than that, but he is 72 points behind Matty Pitt in the standings. Then you've got Freddie, who is best of the rest, leading the mid-pack in 7th on 136 points. Behind him you've got T. Faulkner on 123 points in 8th place. Again, not 100% sure how the PlayStation names correspond with the Discord names, so there could be that C. Faulkner's here, but I can't see him, her or them. And we've got Mark in 9th place in the standings on 103 points, followed by Davidov, who's in 10th on 93 points. T in 11th on 80 points, followed by Street Boy, who is in 12th on 64 points. I thought he'd retired. Interesting. 13th is Truckee on 45 points, followed by Clen, who is 14th on 28 points. Then you've got a bit of a mix-up here. I think that at the bottom of the standings, you've got some drivers who have reserved, some who have not. So you've got some discrepancies in terms of points and positions. But 15th is Oliver on 6 points, with Wheezy Squeeze in 16th on 4 points. And then, interestingly, you've got the likes of Ireland, who's 17th on 24, so has got more points than the previous two. So is Joe B, who is in 18th on 10 points. And you've got Nino Blanco in 19th on 6, and 20th has been left blank. So clearly whoever was in 20th has done something absolutely heinous to have been excluded from the results there. Michael Schumacher, 97, Harath vibes coming from that one. But yeah, that's unfortunate to see. But currently we're just over halfway through the qualifying session here, and it's Matty Pitt leading the way on a 108.1, so a tenth of a second ahead of Clen at the top of the leaderboard. You got Davidoff in 3rd place, only a tenth and a half off for the pole time. followed by Justify, who's fourth, only 2/10 off of Matty Pitt. So 2/10 covering the top 4 drivers here. It's a close qualifying session. That could bode well for a very competitive race. You've got Freddie in 5th on a 108.5, with Rock in 6th. Also on the same time near enough, 15 thousandths of a second between those two. Mark is 7th on a 108.6, ahead of Drauga, who's 8th on a 108.7. So 6/10 of a second covering up to where we are at the moment. You've got T in 9th place on a 108.8. Rexy Boy, same time, half a tenth off of him. Then you got Truckee in 11th on a 109.6. Bit of a gap back to Truckee, and White Shadow Hull in 12th place. Still yet to really register, I think, is best at the moment, but nonetheless, we'll see what comes in the remainder of the session. But yeah, it's a very close order, actually. 7/10 covering the top 10, so it's very, very tight in terms of overall competitiveness so far, which is absolutely great to see, because that really does suggest that we're going to have quite a close race, potentially a DRS train battling for the lead here, or at least for the podium. And that's what we want to see, obviously, on our return here on the Motive Racing channel. The purple sector drivers very rarely disappoint, so hopefully we're going to see a similar story here tonight. But yeah, it's currently we've got the only driver at the sharp end of the order to be out there is currently Clen, who's just starting a lap here towards the end of this session. So Clen now going to try and go one better in this leaderboard here. Currently a 10th of a second off of the fastest time being set by Matty Pitt. And still plenty of time in this session. Can still do a lap and get back in, and then come back out again and do another one after that. So there is plenty of opportunity here for these drivers out here to really show what they can do, and again after that. But Clen here coming through the middle sector of the lap at the moment. As we're riding on board here, we're going to keep an eye out on the top right hand corner, because we're going to get some data there which will tell us whereabouts we are in regards to Matty Pitt's fastest time. As Clen towards the end of the middle sector now, down into this little dip, and down to the final corner, which is called Junxel. And I'm not too familiar with the corner names, but that's the one that I always know, as he now comes up the hill half a tenth of a second faster than his personal best. But is that going to be enough to find time to go on to pole position here as Clen comes up towards the line? Let's see what the time board says here. It's not in improvements, actually. So Clen lost 0.2 of a second in that final sector there, and currently remains in second place for the time being. We've got other drivers out there on a lap at the moment, Matty Pitt and Davidoff in the pits, but Justify is just starting a lap now. You've got Ruck, who's out there currently on an improvement here through the middle sector by just under a tenth. So can Ruck move ahead of Freddie, maybe even further than that? But that would be a bit of a push, considering that it's pretty much a flat-out final sector here. Not really much time you can gain. Over the line comes Ruck and stays in P7. So no change there for Ruck. We got Drauga, who appears to have backed out of this current lap. You can see on the time board there he's on a lap, but it's not going to be a very quick one by the looks of that, the speed of that Alpine. So we got T also on an out lap at the moment. Rexy Boy in the pits. Truckee is coming towards the end of the lap, but is 2 seconds down on his personal best, and it's not going to be an improvement either for him. So yeah, it's back to the drawing board then, I suppose, for a few of these guys now. Who else is on a lap here? Justify is actually on a good one, over a tenth of a second up through the middle sector there, so might have a chance here of pipping. Who knows? Maybe even Clen or Davidoff. If he can find a tenth or two. Maybe even Matty Pitt. Here comes Justify up towards the line. Currently P4. What's it going to be for Justify? He goes P1 there. Lovely lap from Justify. Found 0.2, more than 0.2 in that final sector there. And Justify now top of the leaderboard. So that was a beautiful lap there from Justify. Found the time when he needed it. And it's P1 currently in this qualifying session here. So I'm sure he'll be chuffed a bit with that. But still got time for the other drivers to pip in before the end of this session here. Matty Pitt obviously will be sat there in the pits, and will be, I'm sure, absolutely fuming with that. And we'll be looking to try and get back out on the track and fix that particular glitch on the timing board. But yeah, currently Justify now the fastest man in this session. As we can see, Freddie has got back out onto the track here. So Freddie going for his last run of this session. And it will, I don't know if he'll get 2 more laps in. He might do if he's got the fuel, but it's going to be quite close, I would say. We've got Ruck still in the pits. Drauga is out there on a lap at the moment, coming to the end of the middle sector, but way down on his personal best as Ruck has retired from the session. I think that was down to a lack of improvement being found. And or actually, I don't know, because we're 2 minutes out, so probably not actually. It's probably down to an accident, I would have thought, thinking about it logically. But yeah, currently got T up through the... that was the previous lap, so that's not relevant to now. But T, yeah, definitely down on his current lap. So I think T's session is now done and dusted. I've got Truckee here who's currently in 11th place. Little way off of the rest of the drivers here in this qualifying session. I'm sure not where I want to be. And currently trundling around. Is he got enough fuel to do one more lap? We'll have to see. As White Shadow Hull is about to start another lap here at the end of this session. But looks like Matty Pitt is not going for another run here at the end of this qualifying session, which is interesting. I bet you some of the guys here in this session are watching the F1 launch event. I bet you that's what it is, because there's a lot of people who've been sat in the pits towards the end of this session. I bet some of them are watching the F1 livery launch, because I know it's live at 8 o'clock. I know I was looking at it earlier on thinking, oh god, nah, god damn, the one time the first time I've committed myself to commentating in ages, and it happened to coincide with the F1 livery launch event. I hadn't thought of that last week, but never mind. I mean, I'm glad to be back again. I'm glad to be doing this thing that I love doing again, so not really going to get too upset about that. But nonetheless, we've got Davidoff coming into the final sector here. He's currently 4th in this session. Can he find the 2/10 needed to get onto top spot here? As we see the rear wing wide open there. And no, he's into the pits, so that's not going to be any improvement of any sort there for Davidoff. We've got Freddie coming through the first sector, then middle sector now. And he is up by quite a lot in the first sector, so if Freddie can keep this sort of momentum in the middle and final sectors here, then we could be seeing Freddie jump up the order a little bit here before the end of this session, as we see him coming through towards the end of this second sector here at Interlagos. Only a couple of corners left to go here. You can see one of the McLarens there by the TRX here, boys. Freddie gets it nicely turned in, and beautiful acceleration here up the hill. And is Freddie going to be able to move up from P6 here in the closing stages of this session? Here he comes then round the final corner up towards the line, and it's going to be, oh look at that, lovely from Freddie. Third place there in this qualifying session, only just over 1/10 of a second off of Justify, and slotting just ahead of Glenn and Davidoff. It's an incredibly close qualifying session. You got 2/10 covering the top 5 here, so I suppose to be expected around a track like this where there's not too many corners and it's quite a short track, so you generally don't see much of a difference in lap time, but nonetheless bodes well for an exciting race coming up. As we got Bailey Mackay here in the comments saying, come on the Davidoff. Davidoff started in P5 obviously for this one. Bailey just got pipped at the end there by Freddie, who went third place. It was looking like it was going to be a second row start there for Davidoff, but things took a turn right at the end of the session there. But nonetheless, not a bad starting position. As I said, the lap time's very close here, so who knows? Oh, we've just seen a change for pole. Claire has just gone fastest. Completely didn't even notice that Clem was on a lap there. And Claire has just done a 107.8 and gone a full 2/10 of a second quicker than Justify. So that's quite a margin around this circuit. That's a lovely lap there from Glenn. And I don't think there's anybody else on a lap time. Famous last words. So I think that might just about be the end of the session here. I can't see anybody else out there on the track on a lap. So yeah, it looks like Glenn has snatched it in the final moments of the session, which is absolutely brilliant there for Glenn. So that should be the session done now. I believe that the game is now just playing around a little bit, obviously not proceeding to the race, but that should be it. There we go, lovely jubbly, well done at EA Sports. So that is that then, and Glenn will start the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, or as anybody who's followed F1 for any amount of time knows it, the Brazilian Grand Prix. And yeah, lovely lap there from Claire. Right at the end of the session, Williams on pole with a Haas alongside it on the front row, and a Mercedes and then whatever they're called. I mean, who cares? In fourth, Visa Cash Up RB, Racing Bulls, whatever it is. Davidoff P5 with Mark in the Sauber with Mark in P6 in the Alpine, and we didn't get to see the rest of the order there, so we're never going to know. Or we will. We will know in a second. But that's that for their qualifying. Excellent stuff there. Very, very close order. Very tight between all the drivers, and very good to see that you've got such a competitive league where everybody's pretty evenly matched. It gives us good value for money, good entertainment. As long as you've got a fair, equal opportunity, then that's the main thing, isn't it? That's what sport's all about.
Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. We're almost ready to start the race as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
Here we are then, everybody. We're lining up on the grid, getting ready to go racing here for the Brazilian Grand Prix, round 13 of this 16-round season here at Purple Sector. And lights coming on ahead of the grid. We're about to go racing here. It's lights out and away we go. Who's got the better start here? Clen's got a very good start there from pole as Justify not great. Matty Pitt looking around the outside, too far away coming into turn one. Matty Pitt's now got Freddie alongside as they come through the centre S's here for the first time. Freddie there taking to the runoff area and having to crawl over the curb there. Matty Pitt holding on to third place for the time being. Davidoff there still retains P5 ahead of Ruck, followed by Mark Drauger with T in ninth ahead of Truckee. Then you've got White Shadow Hill and Rexy Boy at the back of the pack right now. But Ruck here has moved ahead of Davidoff up into fifth place, and Mark's moved ahead of Drauger as well, as Drauger trying to come back up into this section here. But Mark's got that one done there, up into seventh place. So it's Clen leading from Justify, Matty Pitt ahead of Freddie. There's Ruck, Davidoff, Mark Drauger, followed by T and Truckee. White Shadow Hill into 11th place because Rexy Boy binned it there in the opening few corners of this opening lap of the race here at Interlagos. So interesting start to this race. Obviously a couple of position changes, but nothing major at the moment as we see Drauger there ducking underneath Mark. Mark with a small mistake, and Drauger didn't need a second invitation there. Beautifully executed there from Drauger up into P7. But as we come towards the end of the first lap, Clen has a narrow lead. Justify is hunting him down here as they come around the final corner here to complete the first lap of the race. Is Justify going to have a chance to go for a lunge up the inside? He's, I'd say, just about within reasonable range, but it's the first lap of the race. Don't do it just yet. It's not worth the risk. You might as well keep yourself there and live to fight another day. And Justify their hold position for the time being. DRS is open this time around though, coming down this little straight down towards turn 4, and just a little bit too far away this time as well. And holds position for the time being, knows it's a long race and knows that there's no point in taking too many risks at this stage. As I just saw a bit of carbon fibre go flying there. I'm not quite sure what that was, but something went flying in the air. But it looks like it's okay. Didn't see any major contact between any cars, so that's a bit of a head scratcher there. Looks like Drauger's on the back of Davidoff in his battle for P6. Davidoff losing the back of the leaders a little bit here, falling off of the train ever so slightly. The top 5 who seem to have this one pretty much between themselves at the moment, as Clen still leading the race, coming out of the final proper corner on the circuit here. This is obviously a flat out, not really a corner, it's more of a straight. But Justify here in the slipstream with the DRS, and this is surely going to be a change of the lead here between these two. Clen has got Justify down the inside, and Justify there makes that move routine into turn 1, as Drauger's also moved ahead of Davidoff up into P6 as well. So 2 position changes there at the end of lap 2. The DRS doing its job here, as we can see Clen is in the DRS once again here on the back of Justify, a little bit too far away going into turn 4. They're holding position for the time being. Matty Pitt and Freddie waiting in the wings here, and Mark's moved ahead of Drauger up into 7th place around the outside. He makes that move stick there beautifully, does Mark, And again, every single lap they go past that curb, it appears that there's something flying in the air, but I'm pretty sure it's a glitch. I don't think that's genuinely any debris that's actually coming off of any of the cars or the track. It is just a glitch I think it's only on my side as well. But Justify, nonetheless, is leading the race, having taken the lead off of Clen into turn 1 at the beginning of this lap. But Clen's not letting him run away. He's sticking to him like glue at the moment. And the likes of Matty Pitt-Freddy and Rock are doing exactly the same thing, as Davidoff is keeping Mark, Drauger and T at bay. Also Truckee as well on the back of this train. So you got it divided into 2 groups here. You've got the top 5 and you've got 6th to 10th places here. And then a big gap back to White Shadow Hill and Rexy Boy, as Justify's been passed by Clen. Clen has got back around the outside of Justify into turn 1, so the lead changes hands once again here. These two trading places so far in this race. Obviously very early stages, but it looks like the DRS is very, very powerful around Interlagos here tonight, as Matty Pitt here making a move now on Justify, and Justify's lost out to Freddy as well. So Justify there down to 4th place, has lost 2 places. Well, 3 if you count losing the lead into turn 1. So Justify going backwards here at the beginning of lap 4. As in the background here, you've got a big battle going on here between Drauger and Mark, the 2 Alpine teammates. Drauger holding the inside, and Mark can't get it around him at the moment, as Ruck's now attacking on the back of Justify in this battle for 4th place. But Justify holds on for that one, but definitely is on a bit of a descent at the moment down the pack, and just needs to get his head back together again. Needs to remember that the DRS is very strong, and that obviously with a lot of cars being bunched up behind him, that was bound to happen. Needs to keep that confidence there, because you're still very much in the battle for the win. Obviously it can be demoralising to lose those positions, but just knowing that you can just as easily get them back as how you've just lost them is crucial to keeping the confidence. But Clen here still leading the race ahead of Matty Pitt into turn 1, and these two have got a bit of a gap between Freddy and Ruck, as Ruck's now made the move on Justify as well here. So now Ruck up into 4th place. Justify has lost that position, as Mark's dropped a couple of places here behind Truckee and T. And where is Mark? Mark's in the wall. So Mark's lost it there going through the centre S's here on lap 5 of the race. That is a virtual safety car and a missing front wing there for Mark. So that's gone a bit catastrophically there for Mark. Obviously he's now going to have to limp round and get that fixed, I would have thought, pretty shortly. But VSC here, so the drivers have just got to slow down a little bit. Not a full safety car, so they don't have to pick up the lead Mercedes or Aston Martin, whichever one they've got on display here. Obviously they can just slow their pace a little bit and wait for the incident to be cleared, at which point they can continue on their way once again. But yeah, Clen is leading the race ahead of Matty Pitt. Justify losing a load of places on the previous lap, dropped from 1st down to 5th place in basically a few corners. But still very much there in the battle for the lead, and could still very realistically win this race. Let's not forget that. But coming around the final corners here on lap 5 of the race, is anybody got a chance of pit stop here under the VSC? It's not going to present the sort of opportunity that you'd see under a full safety car, but certainly it can be worth a risk. If you're close to your pit window already, then it can be worth doing. As we see, Clen has got a drive through for speeding under the VSC. So Clen obviously was trying to keep that gap to the guys behind and pushed a little bit too hard doing so. Might lose out anyway to Matty Pitt here, who's down the inside into turn 4 and makes that move stick there, does Matty Pitt. Now looks like Freddy's going to try and follow him through as well as they come out of turn 4, but Clen's managed to keep it around the outside of Matty Pitt and has got the inside for this next right-hander. Clen managing to hold on to that lead narrowly there. Freddy on the outside is going to be passed by Ruck, is he? No, he's going to keep it there. Ruck trying to force his way through on the inside, but Freddy, again, very gentlemanly driving there from Freddy, I have to say. He could have maybe got his elbows out a little bit more there, but he's being a bit too clean, I think, for his own good. Oh, look at that, he's not being clean. He's given up the cleanliness there, and he's forced his way back around the outside and has held on to 3rd place there. So good driving in the end there from Freddy. Ruck there has got to regroup and go again, but yeah, great little side-by-side action there between those two. And Clen there has got the gap just under a second to Matty Pitt now, and is now coming into the pits, which is, well, I suppose a drive-through penalty, yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it? But nonetheless, into turn 1 here on lap 7 of the race. Matty Pitt, Freddy, Ruck, Justify your top 4 at the moment, and they've got just over a second to Davidoff, who's in 5th place and has struggled to keep with the leaders over the course of this first stint, but has got just over a second now to Drauger in 6th place. And Truckee now looking to try and make a move here on Drauger into turn 4 and gets that one done there up into P6. That's job done, is it? Yeah, pretty much there for Truckee. and can now try and focus up ahead of him. But yeah, currently Matty Pitt still out the front here, but just seems to be losing control of the car a little bit there. And Freddie might be sensing his opportunity here now, because he's well within a second of Matty Pitt, but Matty Pitt, I think, has got it covered at the moment. But I definitely saw Matty Pitt just seem like he had lost the back end a little bit as we were flicking to him there, so I don't know whether or not Freddie's going to be taking some confidence from that at this point as we come through the final proper corner of the track. And Freddie will get DRS up the hill and will then get another helping of DRS down the straight towards turn 4 as well. So here we go, Matty Pitt, I think he's coming in. No, he's not. Might have been a bit of a feint there from Matty Pitt, but Freddie getting closer and closer. But look at that, Rock's now up the inside of Freddie into turn 1, and he's going to try and make it 2 moves in the space of a couple hundred metres here. Matty holds on ahead of Rock, but Rock is up into second place. Now he's going to look to try and make the most of another bite of DRS here down the straight, but Freddie's going to be waiting in the wings as well. Freddie's got the slipstream off of Matty Pitt, which takes him past. In fact, he's got the slipstream off of Rock, sorry, should I say. It's the other Mercedes that had already passed Matty Pitt. So Rock now leading the race. Freddie getting back ahead of Matty Pitt, and Matty Pitt dropping down 2 places there. Incredible stuff. I just, obviously they're both driving Mercedes, and that was just me just not paying attention. I was looking down at the stream, and then 1 second, and then it's just, it's all happened. But Rock now leading the race ahead of Freddie, with Matty Pitt down to 3rd place, and now Freddie's got a different driver to chase here, a different Mercedes in the shape of Rock. But Rock there took full advantage, didn't he? Took the 2 places that were being offered to him on a plate. And it's Rock now from Freddie, Matty Pitt with Justify, and Davidoff appears to have well and truly joined this battle here out the front. So Davidoff now getting involved, which is good to see, because the more the merrier out the front. Obviously we want to be seeing a battle that goes on throughout the race here, as Freddie now into the pits here at the end of lap 8. So he'll be, I'm sure, swapping out his soft tyres for some, I would have thought probably some hards here, or is he going to do a 2-stop strategy? Who knows what we're going to see here. There's going to be a 2-stop strategy for Freddie, because he's putting the mediums on. So yeah, he's got 27 laps to go, as White Shadow has just made a mistake there going up the hill. Don't know if he's coming into the pits here, but he's about to be passed by Mark, who obviously has already been into the pits to put some hard tyres on early on in this race. But nonetheless, let's go back to the leaders here, as we've got Rock, Matty Pitt and Justify running in very close contention here. And obviously they're now without Freddie, who's gone for the undercut and has put the medium tyres on. Is that going to work out for Freddie? It's going to be fascinating to see how that pays out, or rather, who knows if it will. But definitely a bit of a roll of the dice there from Freddie. And I suppose when you're in a pack of cars battling, it can often help to do the alternative strategy. You've kind of got nothing to lose, because when you've got, you improve your chances of having maybe a 1 in 4 chance of winning to maybe considerably better if your strategy is superior. You just don't know, but it's worth a try. But Justify nonetheless is being passed by Davidoff, who's round the outside into turn 1. Is he going to hold his ground though? Looks like Davidoff has made that move stick there up into 3rd place, as Draug is into the pits here at the end of lap 9. And I imagine probably hard tyres going on. Yep, indeed, as Davidoff has now moved ahead of Matty Pitt as well. So Matty Pitt dropping behind Davidoff. Davidoff appears to be getting stronger as this first stint goes on. And one thing I didn't realise at the start is that Davidoff did start on the hard tyres, which means that whilst everybody else's tyres are going to be going off the cliff at this point, especially the soft runners, Davidoff is only going to be gaining in confidence here. So Davidoff won't have even scratched the surface yet. Those tyres are going to be good to go for at least another 10-15 laps. And at the moment they're probably in their prime phase, so it's definitely going to be advantage Davidoff in terms of the strategy here in this race, and probably will be able to put the softs on, I would have thought, for the final stint, depending on how far he wants to go, how much time he wants to lose towards the end of the stint, because they inevitably will go off, and we know what the hard tyres are like. They're not the quickest, but they last a long time. But nonetheless, Davidoff here in second place, well within 2 seconds of the race in a Rock, who's managed to make a bit of a break for it here on the medium tyres. So Rock's in a similar position to Davidoff, but are we going to see Rock do a 2-stop and put another set of mediums on, or are we going to see Rock potentially put the hards on and go to the end? It's going to be interesting to see as Justify makes the move on Matty Pitt up into 3rd place there, into turn 4. And Drauga gets around the outside of Rexy Boy up into P9 there. But Matty Pitt here still on the back of Justify in this battle for third place, and these two running pretty much toe-to-toe at the moment, as they have done for the last couple of laps. But they've now well and truly fallen off of these two runners at the front who are on those more durable tyre compounds, Ruck and Davidoff. Ruck's tyres will be starting to feel the pace in a couple of laps, I would have thought. The soft runners are going to be absolutely screaming at the moment. The tyres are going to be hanging on for dear life. But Ruck should be good to go until at least sort of lap 14, 15, I would say. That's when they'll start to really start to cry out a little bit. But his tyres are going to be in a similar position in 3 or 4 laps' time to what those soft runners are at right about now. But nonetheless, Matty Pitt here is going to make a move down the inside of Justify up into third place there. Justify thought about coming back there through the S's, but had to back out because if he was to keep his foot in there and have a chance down the straight, he would have almost certainly initiated contact there. So Matty Pitt there has got that move done into the podium places for now. But Davidoff, I tell you what, has been really gaining over these last few laps on Ruck. Ruck maybe trying to save these medium tyres, try and go a bit further into this stint. In the meantime, Glenn has picked off T up into P6. Obviously, he has been into the pits already. I'm sure T wouldn't be too worried about that. Knows that they're driving very different races here tonight. But Ruck out the front with just under a second of a gap here to Davidoff at this point. And Davidoff starting to pile that pressure on, although Ruck's just extending that gap a little bit through the middle sector here, which might keep him out of DRS. It could be a stay of execution here for Ruck as they come up the hill towards the end of lap 12 here. As Davidoff got DRS, that's going to be close. He has just about got DRS here, so Ruck couldn't break that DRS barrier, and now Davidoff gets that closing speed. Not close enough to make a move, but it's definitely going to just apply the pressure here on Ruck at this point. As Justify has made the move on Matty Pitt into turn 1, those two continue to swap positions. I reckon that will be a recurring theme until they come in for their pit stops, which should be coming up very soon, I would have thought. But Davidoff here, again, getting closer to the back of Ruck now. I reckon at the end of this lap, this could be Davidoff's big chance to make the move for the lead. As Matty Pitt, once again, as we've said before, and we're going to continue to say, I think, for the rest of for the duration, has made the move on Justify. But Davidoff here still putting that pressure on, almost tapping Ruck in the rear there. So getting a bit too close for comfort. Davidoff needs to be careful. Doesn't want to get damage on that front wing, because that will really stunt his potential for a win here tonight. But yeah, driving a very composed race in this first stint, putting those hard tyres on, as we saw a bit of a twitch there from Davidoff. Very close there, and just had to regather it together again. Lost a bit of time. Still pretty close though, I tell you what. Has got Slipstream and DRS here. Might have a chance to make the move for the lead here as we come down the start finish straight up towards the line. He's going to get closer and closer and closer, probably going to be alongside going into the braking zone. Here we go, side by side here into turn 1, and Davidoff down the inside is going to make that move for the lead of the race there. Beautifully executed there from Davidoff, as we see on the timing board Matty Pitt and Truckee into the pits here at the end of lap 13. But we're watching the leaders here coming around turn 3, and down towards 4 we go. Ruck will now have DRS on Davidoff, and he's going to try and return the favour here. In towards turn 4 we go, side by side, round the outside goes Ruck, and manages to make the move back on Davidoff there, and Davidoff has lost the car. He's lost control of the car going through turn 4, so Ruck has now got a clear lead in this race. Davidoff must have lost it on the inside there, must have had to slam the brakes on to avoid crashing or something, because he just suddenly dropped back. We weren't watching, we were actually watching Ruck as he went around the outside, but Davidoff now 2 seconds behind, so must have had to really slam the anchors on there and lost time as a result. But Ruck has now got over a 2-second gap out the front, and potentially has now got himself a free ticket to drive away here. So obviously Davidoff made that move into turn 1. Ruck then returned the favour around the outside of turn 4, and Davidoff ultimately has come undone a little bit in that one. So now it looks like most of the soft runners have been in. So obviously we saw Matty Pitt and Truckee in the pits on the previous lap. Justify is now finally coming in here at the end of lap 14. So hard tyres will be going on, unless he's very ballsy and puts the mediums on, but I wouldn't advise it, to be honest with you. I think it'd probably be a bit of a stretch. So in comes Justify, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see some white wall hard tyres going on to that Haas there, and indeed we do see exactly that, as Rexy Boy and White Shadow Hole, the only drivers now who started on the softs yet to pit. So Rexy Boy, no surprise, coming in this time around, and White Shadow Hole I would have thought would be coming in at the end of this lap. We'll have to see. But nonetheless, the gap at the front has come down a little bit since Davidoff made that mistake going into turn 4 on the previous lap. Obviously, he made that mistake and it was about 2.2 seconds. It's down to 1.7. So Davidoff has just started to get back in the act a little bit here as we come down to towards the end of lap 15. Oh, God. I've got a real dilemma in my hands here. I'm kind of hoping someone brings out a safety car because I really need the loo. I shouldn't be saying that on the stream, but it's very unprofessional of me, but it's just got to be honest. Anyway, White Shadow Hole has got a 3-second penalty for time for track limits and obviously still needs to come in and get those soft tyres off. But currently, Ruck is out the front at the moment and has got a 1.5 second lead here over Davidoff, so he's continuing to do the bits here. Right now is Ruck, but Davidoff closing that gap as Clen there getting onto the grass, going through the final corner. What has happened to Clen here in this race? Because Clen was battling for the lead in the early stages. Obviously came into the pits a few laps ago and has come in again by the looks of it a lap ago. So I don't quite know what's going on with Clen. I've completely missed what happened on the stream since the first pit stop. But clearly an incident of some sort has derailed his chance of a win here. But nonetheless, Drauger and Matty Pitt running in 4th and 5th places, and they're actually a little way adrift of Freddie, who came in a few laps after. Or rather, no, Freddie came in before, so Freddie did actually get the undercut. Sorry, Freddie got the undercut on Drauger and Matty Pitt, so Freddie could actually be the net race leader here. But obviously, Davidoff will have a stint on the softs at the end. Ruck, I don't quite know, probably the hards, although if you can make these mediums last until maybe lap 20, up 22, then he could be able to put the softs on for the final stint. So maybe we'll be seeing Ruck and Davidoff both on quicker tyres than Freddie in that final stint. But I reckon Freddie could be the net race leader here, running in 3rd place. He's got 3 seconds back to these two, as we said. But his tyres will be very, very close to the cliff. Maybe Freddie's hoping to push these tyres during this stint and then put the softs on at the end and outpace Drauger and Matty Pitt at the end. I don't know what his plan is, but that would probably make more sense than trying to go to the end and do 27 laps on a set of mediums. It's going to be interesting to see how the strategy plays out here. Dear. Oh, God. Right, I'm going to be 2 minutes and I'll be back in a second. I really am sorry for that, guys. Sorry to Matty, Pitt and T and you guys out on track. I had to go there. I was banking on a safety car and didn't get one. But nonetheless, we got T moving up into 8th place ahead of Clen, and Davidoff still leading the race. I tried to pick a time. I tried to wait until the strategy had kind of just had taken a bit of a break, because obviously there wasn't too much going on in terms of pit stops. Nobody was expected to come in soon. But during the time that I had to just quickly nip out, it is Ruck who's closed the gap massively to Freddie here. Now the gap is only half a second between them. So yeah, it's looking like it's definitely race on here in this battle, which could be for the net race lead as well. And Freddie does appear to be taking it quite easy on his medium tyres, which could be indicative of him trying to get these to the end. I'd theorise that potentially he could really push in this stint and then put the softs on at the end, but doesn't appear that's going to be the case. As we see Ruck now with the DRS, and it's going to try and breeze past Freddie here. Freddie's got good straight line speed though. I've noticed this earlier on in the race, and he now tucks back in behind him. As we see Davidoff, the race leader's into the pits. So he's put the mediums on and should be able to go to the end from here. Freddie's got DRS on Ruck here, coming down towards turn 4. He's going to get there late, but he's going to make it happen there down the inside. Lovely move there from Freddie. And yeah, Ruck gave him the tight line, and now he's made the move back with him there. So Ruck obviously played the game there because he gave Freddie a very, very tight space to work with. And that presented Ruck with the opportunity to get the cutback coming out of the corner, because Freddie had to go very, very tight to the corner. So Ruck there actually played that really, really well, and has now completed that move. Now Matty Pitt is going to try and knock Freddie while he's down here as well, as Davidoff has come out just behind these guys in 4th place. He's now made his final pit stop, so he's good to go to the end here. But Freddie, as we said before, on these worn-out medium tyres, he's going to have to really nurse these. He's going to have to be the tyre whisperer if he's going to get these to the end. I think he's going to have to come into the pits again. But he's got to wait. He can't do it yet because the softs aren't going to go to the end from here. Probably be best off waiting until lap 23 and then sticking those soft tyres on. Or if he really wants to push them, maybe wait a lap longer, or a lap or 2 longer maybe. I'm not quite sure, but we'll have to see how it all pans out. But nonetheless, Ruck is your current race leader at the moment, with Freddie, Matty Pitt and Davidoff right there as well. 4 of them in a line here. Drauger in the background there ahead of Justify, as these two battle over 5th and 6th. But still a long way to go in this race. Only a little over halfway through. And still all to play for here in this Brazilian Grand Prix here at the Purple Sector Formula 1 League, as we see Mark's moved ahead of Rexy Boy up into the final points paying position there. But these guys having an absolutely brilliant battle out the front here, and Freddie keeping the Ruck on his toes and might have a chance to come back at him, despite the strategy maybe not really favouring him in this race. Davidoff has moved ahead of Matty Pitt now up into 3rd place, as these guys around the final corner here. But Matty Pitt's now got the DRS on Davidoff here as we come over the line to start lap 22 of the race. A little bit too far away there into turn 1, as Justify has made the move on Drauger there up into P5. And Drauger there giving him a bit of a tap going through the centre S's, but holding it for the time being, both of them. Back to the leaders though, as Freddie's now got Davidoff down the inside into turn 4, and Davidoff makes that move there. Beautifully done there from Davidoff. Now that's 2 places gained since coming out of the pits, and now he can focus on Ruck, who's trying to break away out the front. But Davidoff appears to really have the ace up his sleeve in terms of the strategy here tonight. It's really worked out a treat here for Davidoff, I'll tell you that. Started on the hard tyres, which I didn't pick up at the start. It's been a while since I've commentated on this F1 game. Not making excuses, but it's probably the reason. But yeah, he's certainly driven a very patient race, and it's now coming to him well and truly here as we come to the end of lap 22. Here we go then. Davidoff for the lead of the race, pulls out of slipstream now to the outside, and Ruck's going to be powerless to do anything about it. Davidoff into the lead here at Interlagos, as Freddie into the pits, I presume, to put some soft tyres on, with 14 laps left to go. Let's see how it works out, because he'll have the faster tyres than everybody else in front of him. Could pay massive dividends, but the problem is that these soft tyres, we know that they're quite short acting. He has actually put the medium tyres on, so I'm not surprised. Nonetheless, he will have faster, fresher tyres than the drivers in front of him, so it could work out for Freddie. He could definitely make up a few places here. Where has he come out? 9th place. He's currently 7 seconds behind Glenn. He's 15 seconds behind Truckee. So, yeah, I reckon maybe P6 could be on the table here for Freddie. Currently running in P9. But we're watching the leaders at the moment. Just keeping an eye. Obviously, he's about 20 seconds off of the lead. 22, 23 seconds off of the lead at the moment. So with 14 laps left to go, I think that's probably... I don't think the win's going to be possible. Well, I think it's almost certainly not. Unless there's a safety car. But nonetheless, Davidoff here coming out of turn 3, and Ruck still keeping him on his toes at the moment. But Davidoff having hit the front, I suppose the only thing now that could stop Davidoff is the medium tyres giving out before the end of the race. Oh, as I say that, a 3-second time penalty there for Davidoff. So as I was saying that it could be one thing, it could potentially now be another. T's now picked up a 3-second time penalty as well. So lots of drivers here picking up penalties at this stage in the race. The likes of Justified, Truckee, Freddie and Rexy Boy all keeping their noses clean so far. But this is going to play a massive factor in the way that the finishing order ends up, because Davidoff and Ruck and Matty Pitt now all on 3 seconds. Justify with no penalties to his name, so if he can get himself within striking distance here, we could be seeing a real switch up in terms of the order by the time we get to the end of this race. Justify's got to just try and keep himself within a catchment of these guys, but Davidoff here into turn 1 once again. Ruck still keeping him on his toes here, only 0.3 of a second apart. Matty Pitt there still running in 3rd place right now. In that final podium place, we got Justify there, P4, little way back as Davidoff has now lost out to Ruck. Ruck down the inside into turn 4, beautifully done there. Excellent driving there from Ruck, as he's now going to try and come back at him here is Davidoff. We've got Amelia Charlotte here offering to sell something to me. I'll have to think about it, because I was considering changing this channel actually to just a commentary channel, because my league's currently not running at the moment, so I could just change it to a commentary channel for me rather than my league. I don't know, I was thinking I might need a logo actually. I'll have to, yeah, anyway, right, so back to the leaders, back to the race. We got Davidoff here in the slipstream as they come up the hill, and he might have a good chance here of getting the move done with DRS here down towards turn 1. Here we go, Davidoff getting closer and closer, and it's going to try and return the favour that Ruck did a lap ago, but too far back going into turn 1 this time around. It would appear that my timing board is still... Oh, it should be on leader. There we go. But Matty Pitt's currently 2 seconds off of these two, so he might have a chance of closing in if these two really start to battle and hold each other up. But at the moment, it's seems like it's between these two for the race win. Doesn't really appear to be too much else going on right now. Clen's still running in 7th place, just ahead of Freddie here, 0.4 of a second apart at the moment. Clen has got a 3-second time penalty, which will switch things up a little bit by the time we get to the end. But Davidoff here very close to the back of Ruck, and I can't see Ruck holding on to this lead by the time we get to the end of the straight here. I think that Davidoff's going to make this move a long way before we get to the turn 1, possibly even before we get to the start-finish line here. Here he goes. Davidoff here to the outside, is ahead before the start-finish line, and is in the lead of the race into turn 1. There's Truckee's moved ahead of Drauger up into P5, and what's happening here to Drauger? Drauger's had a moment and is dropping away here. So is there damage on the car, or did he just get it wrong out of the final corner? Maybe it was that. No, he's got damage coming into the pits, so Drauger has had a bit of a mare there and is dropping it down the order and has actually retired from the race. But I'm pretty sure it was a manual retirement, so I don't think that there'll be any damage or debris or any need for a safety car or interference to the race. I wouldn't have thought. But nonetheless, Drauger out of the race, so that means we're now down to 11 runners here in the closing stage. Well, not quite the closing stages, but definitely the business end, the tail end of this Brazilian Grand Prix here at Purple Sector. As we see Davidoff here still keeping Ruck at bay here, only half a second between them as they come out of the final corner here, about to complete lap 27 of the race. Matty Pitt here, 3 seconds behind. Seems to be dropping off for the leaders a little bit. Maybe is out of this battle for the win. Our championship leader here still picking up some very strong points, which is going to be majorly beneficial here for sure. Rock has got a 3 second time penalty there again, so now that's going to give Davidoff a little bit more breathing space as Rock makes the move for the lead. But Davidoff maybe playing it smart here, maybe realising that Rock's got that penalty, knows that it's not really going to be any issue if he lets him past. Davidoff just needs to stay on the back of Rock and not crash into him for these last 8.5 laps, and he'll have the win in the bag. As long as they don't get backed up into Matty Pitt, Davidoff should have this win in the bag. Looks like Rexy Boys moved ahead of Mark up into 9th. That's because Mark's in the pits here at the end of lap 27. So Mark, what's he going to put on the car? Looks like, is that medium tyres there for Mark? No, soft tyres there for Mark, sorry. Soft tyres for Mark. Still a little way out, so could be somebody else coming in for fastest lap before now on the end of the race. But looks like Davidoff's moved back ahead of Rock here as these two continue to give us a fight here on the stream. But obviously as things stand, it'll be Rock who will lose out on the penalties with a 6 second penalty compared to Davidoff's 3. As Glenn has moved ahead of Truckee up into P6. And are these two, Davidoff and Rock, just starting to, I think, slow each other down a little bit. Matty Pitt's got the gap under 3 seconds to the race leader. And if this continues to happen, then who knows, we could be seeing a three-way battle for the lead towards the end. Obviously, as things stand, only 2 of them would be in contention with the penalty for Rock, but who knows what can happen between now and the end. Still 7 laps left to go in the race, so, you know, we could be seeing either of these, Davidoff or Matty Pitt, picking up another penalty, in which case they'd be on a level playing field with Rock. They'd all be losing the same amount of time come the end of the race. Looks like Justify isn't really in a position to capitalise on any of these penalties because he's 8 seconds off for the lead. But we see here Rock looking to the inside of Davidoff into turn 1. Davidoff keeping himself there. Oh, has to back out of that one. Rock gets that move completed there around the outside of the centre S's. But the battle is far from over. And if Rock wants to win this race, he needs to somehow break that DRS and go on a bit of a rampage and pull out 3 seconds before the end of this race. Is that going to be possible here? It would be a heck of a feat if he's able to do that. Davidoff still there waiting in the wings behind Rock, still keeping that pressure on, because sometimes the best form of defence is attack. So if Davidoff can just stay close to Rock, obviously not lose that 1 second barrier for DRS in the first place, then you keep yourself, you can kind of control your own fate, so to speak. If he loses that DRS, then Rock could quite feasibly get that gap at over 3 seconds. So it's just about managing your expectations here a little bit. Davidoff has got now a 3 second time penalty as well. Oh my goodness, it's happened. It's happened. The unthinkable has happened. I speculated, I was saying it could happen. It has gone and happened. Davidoff is now going to make the move into turn 4 for the lead, which he now needs to do. Hasn't needed to for a while. Contact there between the two of them, and they continue on their way. But has Davidoff got a bit of damage there on the front end of the car? They just came together there coming through turn 4. Davidoff poked his nose up the inside, looked to try and make the move, couldn't do it because Rock got such a good exit out of the corner. Now they're kind of tripping over each other a little bit here. It's bringing Matty Pitt into play, and Matty Pitt, as things stand, will take the race win because he's got 3 seconds less of penalty and is within 3 seconds of both of them. So Matty Pitt now in the prime position here to capitalise on these two on these two's mishaps. Justify only 7 seconds behind with the 6 second penalties for these two, and he's got no penalties, so these two could one of them could drop off the podium here if they don't get their act together. This is going to be quite tight here in the final few laps of the race, but over the line we come with 5 laps left to go here at Interlagos, and Davidoff down the inside makes that move stick once again for the lead here. But this is going to go all the way down to the final lap here, I reckon, as Rock has now got 9 seconds of penalties. That once again brings the ball into Davidoff's court, but Matty Pitt is within 3 seconds of Davidoff, so at the moment he still won't get the win. As Rock there down the inside, up into P1 once again. But I have to say, Matty Pitt's got to be the one who your money's on at this point, because he is sat there out of harm's way, just waiting in the wings like a silent assassin right now. Is Matty Pitt. Knows he just needs to keep himself within 6 seconds of Rock and within 3 seconds of Davidoff. And so he doesn't need to get close to this battle. He doesn't even need to take any risks. He just needs to make sure he's in the right place at the right time. And with Davidoff in second place as well, who's his closest rival, the one with the closest number of penalties to himself, it also means that he's being limited. He's kind of under control, because if Davidoff was leading right now, I'd be slightly panicking if I was Matty Pitt. But the fact that he's in second and he's the next car in front of him, I think Matty Pitt's going to feel pretty secure right now, knowing that this is under control as we come into turn one once again, and Rock is leading the race by half a second here from Davidoff. 4 laps left to go here for this Brazilian Grand Prix. Keeping an eye on Justify running in 4th place. His gap he's now within 9 seconds of Rock, so as things stand, Rock will lose out on a podium, and Justify is keeping that gap pretty consistent the last couple of laps, so I can't see that changing. I think that as things stand at the moment, I think it's going to be a completely switched up order from what we see. It's going to be Matty Pitt leading with Davidoff second, Rock third, and Justify 4th. I think as things stand, if the race were to end right now, that'd be how it is. So it's going to be totally different from what we see on the screen at this moment in time. So here we go, the drivers coming out of this final proper corner here on the circuit once again. About to start lap 34, 3 laps left to go here at Interlagos. Davidoff once again with the DRS, pulls to the outside now of Rock, and it's going to make that move once again. Routine stuff there from the Sauber driver. And Matty Pitt there is still within 3 seconds, but crucially, Davidoff is now leading the race. So if Davidoff can get that gap to over 3 seconds to Matty Pitt, then Davidoff might win this race. But here comes Rock looking to try and come back at him here, and Rock could be the party pooper here for Davidoff. Obviously they battle it out on the track for the whole race, so there's a point to prove here for Rock, and Davidoff is not going to be able to pull out a gap to Matty Pitt if he's got Rock in front of him. So once again, Rock proving to be the cork in the bottle there for Davidoff right now, and Matty Pitt still well within that 3 seconds that he needs to take the win here ahead of Davidoff. Justify also within 7 seconds of Rock as well. So as things stand in this race, it will be Rock who will finish off at a podium, despite being the race leader. As things stand with only 2 laps left to go, he will finish in 4th place if the race were to end right now. But here we come up towards the line. In other news, we can see the only 3 drivers without penalties now is Justify, Freddie and Truckee, as Davidoff made the move on Rock there into turn 1 once again. The gap 2.2 to Matty Pitt that Davidoff has got. He needs 3 seconds, as we said before, if he's to get the win in the classification. Matty Pitt's still doing everything he has to do to take this race win here. 9 of you currently watching on YouTube. Guys, if you know any of the drivers, then let us know who you're supporting here tonight. Who do we think is going to get this one? I'm sure that Bailey Mackay is going to be pretty happy here with the state of play right now, because you've got Davidoff leading the race with a lap and a half left to go. But the question is, can he get that 3 second gap to Matty Pitt? If he can't do that, then it'll be Matty Pitt standing on the top step of the podium here. The championship leader will extend his gap in the championship after tonight. But Davidoff's still doing everything he has to do at the moment. But the thing is, Rock's going to have DRS down the straight, and if Rock gets ahead of Davidoff, that's going to then inhibit Davidoff massively on this final lap. And the thing is, and Davidoff, for him, it's going to be a frustrating moment right now, because he is tantalisingly close to getting DRS off of these back markers, but he's not quite within range. And if he had got that, he would have definitely been towed along and helped him keep Rock behind. In the meantime, it does look like he's managed to stay ahead anyway, and Davidoff leads the race coming into turn 1 on the final lap of the race, so he might have a chance to pull out that 3 seconds that he needs to take this win. It's going to be oh so close. He'll get DRS maybe down his back straight, will he? Not quite sure. No, not quite close enough, but Rock is now well, he's putting the pressure on. He's trying everything he possibly can, but he can't make that move into turn 4. So now Davidoff has got to find half a second in the second and third sectors of this final lap of the race if he wants to win this race on Matty Pitt, who's running there in third place, obviously with 3 seconds less in terms of time penalties. So here we go then. Davidoff's just got to go all out here on this final lap of the race. Ruck trying to make the move on the track anyway, trying to get the pride of finishing the race in first place, even if he loses it on the classification. But here we are then, Davidoff with a few corners left. The gap's up to 2.8 for a second there. My goodness, this is going to be very, very tight into the last proper corner of the racetrack here at Interlagos for this Brazilian Grand Prix here tonight at Purple Sector Formula 1 League here, season 11 of round 13 of 16 here for the season. Here we come then, Davidoff up towards the line. The gap's not enough, I don't think. I think it's going to be Matty Pitt to take the win as Davidoff takes the win on the track with Ruck in second for now, but Matty Pitt does jump both of them there. Matty Pitt takes the win with Davidoff second. Justified predictably there, taking third off of Ruck. Ruck dropping off at the podium despite taking the win on the track. Freddie's going to come over the line to take P5 in the end, with Glenn over in P6. Not too far behind him, it's going to be Truckee, who will take 7th place in a moment. You've got the lap car of White Shadow Hill there finishing in 11th place just in front of him there. T is going to finish in P8 with Mark a long way behind. Rexy Boys finished the race a lap down in P10. We saw White Shadow Hill crossing the line in 11th. Obviously we lost Drauga a few laps from the end, but it'll be Mark who'll be the last to finish this race. He's coming around the final few corners here and will finish in due course. But Matty Pitt there only took the win by 2/10 in the end. That showed what a job Davidoff did on that final lap, because he started the final lap, I think, 2.4 ahead. By the end of the final lap, he was 2.8 ahead, so he found 4/10 on that last lap. Almost had enough of a gap there to take the win despite his penalties, but couldn't quite do it. And Matty Pitt there just drove a very patient race in his final few laps and made sure he was in the right place at the right time. Mark is going to be the last driver to finish the race here in P9. What I would have thought would get 2 points for his troubles, but with a 23-second penalty, who knows? Honestly, who knows? But that is that then for the race here tonight at Brazil for the Purple Sector Formula 1 League. Congratulations to Matty Pitt on taking a well-deserved W and obviously extending the gap in the championship. So Matty Pitt there taking another step closer to a potential title here at Purple Sector here for season 11, which would be absolutely fantastic there for our league host and the one who puts this all together. But great stuff there from everyone out on track. Really clean racing and very competitive as well, which is great to see. But yeah, thanks everybody, and we'll see you. Join us on Thursday night for the next round of the Purple Sector. Obviously, if you're a friend, family member, or otherwise associate of any of the drivers out on track, then make sure you tune in at 8 p.m. UK time on Thursday. And round 14 of the season will be at Las Vegas, which is a track I've only done one commentary ever around that track, so and that was a long time ago, so don't really know many of the corner names. I'm probably going to get confused as to where the drivers are on the track, but well, it'll all be good fun. Anyway, thanks everybody, we'll see you all very, very soon. Take it easy, and good night.